Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. All right, Brady. Man, some things that happened recently that I think ties in with you is Marab winning this belt, man, against Sugar Sean O'Malley. Like, what'd you think of the fight though? Like him kissing him and all that stuff. That was so wild shit.
Dude, I think Marab's really finding his groove right now. Like, like he was doing that. What did he do in the fight before this? He like grabbed Peter Yan's ass. He's just having fun in there, and you can tell the way he trains. He just spars all the time, so he's just having fun in there. That just shows how much control he had. Because I mean, most guys would be like freaking out trying to squeeze that choke, and he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna kiss him on the back."
Yeah, yeah. It seems like he's really present in the fight all the
Yeah.
time, Like, what'd you think of the start of the fight though? Like, even before they started fighting each other, he was like talking with the corner man. Hey, what's your thoughts on that? Is like Sean O'Malley's corner is yelling instructions to Marab to fake him out, and it worked against Aljo.
Yeah, I mean, this game's so weird. Like, it's such mind games. Like, I don't fault him for it. I'm sure my coach has done some weird stuff in the past. It is dirty. So, I mean, if he gets called out on it, he calls all out on it. But that's like the game we play. It's kind of interesting because, like, you can coach, but how are they going to know and tell you not to talk to the? It's just a weird, like, gray area. So, I guess you just got to be like Marab and not give a fuck.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if I would have like started yelling at the other coach though, in my personal opinion. But who cares, right?
yeah, exactly. It's like half the time there's people yelling all over the arena. So I don't know if you could really hear everybody yelling. Can
Yeah.
you?
It will in the Apex because I mean that's where I fought most of my fights. I mean all my fights in the UFC, so I can hear it a lot. Like it's pretty weird being in there, like especially when you're on the Ultimate Fighter because there was no crowd even in the Apex.
Yeah.
So I remember a weird like flashback is when I was in the Ultimate Fighter and I was fighting Josh, and I was just going hard. I was just spazzing and getting takedowns, throwing crazy strikes. And I remember I got to his back and I took him down and I looked up at Mitch Raposo and he was just standing over there on like the bleachers. He's like, chill out. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, you're right. I still got 2 more rounds of this shit.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of the Ultimate Fighter, Brian Battle, dude, he goes to France and just takes out a French dude and then just talks mad shit inside that arena. How epic was that?
Dude, he's a special dude. He's got ultimate belief in himself, ultimate work ethic, anything like everything that makes a champion. So, and he don't give a fuck. Obviously, like they were talking shit to him, and he fucking was giving it back. I'm sure if they were like respectful, Brian would have been respectful, but they were like, I hear some bad things about French fans.
Well, yeah, I've heard just bad things overall, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, man, like those moments you can't have in the Apex, man. Like that would never exist.
No, anything to that magnitude. That's why it's such a cool thing to fight in front of a big crowd. And I'll get there one day.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
and
after this fight, one or two more fights, I'm out in the crowd for sure.
well, they're gonna shut down the Apex in December all the way to like mid 2025 for renovation. So there's not gonna be any events in the Apex, which is good for everybody, all the UFC
Yeah,
fighters, right?
yeah, no, that's exciting. I didn't really know the exact timeline on that, but that's exciting.
Yeah, I think the last event will be at the end of November, and then they're gonna shut it down, which is I think is a good idea. Now to you, 3 straight victories, 2 straight third round finishes. You must love the third round. How do you feel? How do you feel about the momentum, man, that you've built for yourself so far?
I love the wins. I think I'm winning. Um, I'm finishing, and I think the second, obviously, the most important thing is always to win. The second most important thing is we're entertaining. So at least I'm having entertaining fights, and so that's what I'm really happy about that. Like I feel like I'm delivering on the entertainment side of things, and I'm finishing. So I feel like that's like a recipe for success moving on and climbing these rankings. So I'm actually pumped about it. I think momentum's good. I think another win's just going to keep moving me along, and I can't wait to get into the top 15 here soon.
Yeah, man, you got to make yourself. Sometimes it's just like undeniable, right? Like it's not about like, oh, I'm gonna talk shit to this guy. Just man, win, 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 and then you're put in position to have the big fights?
Yeah, I was talking to my coach the other day, and it's like we're in a little different position than a lot of guys. You know, I came in with only four or five fights into the UFC, so I just happened to be able to get on the Ultimate Fighter. I feel like it's different than a lot of guys that have built, you know, like 10 fights outside of the UFC. So I got in really early. I have had some growing pains, but I'm still winning, and I think that even shows more of my potential because I'm still only 25, and I think once I hit my prime in my 28, 29 years, I feel like I'll be a menace, the boogeyman of the division.
Well, I was watching an interview that your coach did, your head coach Rick Little did, and he said that you are the best he's ever coached, and he's coached Juliana Pena and Michael Chiesa. Man, are you? And recently, Mighty Mouse retired. So, are you the next? Are you the next guy out of Washington? Like, are you going to be the next legend out of Washington? Is that your goal? Like, be like Mighty Mouse?
100%. My goal is to be undeniable, and I know like I've under delivered for my own skill in my fights. Like I've won and I've finished and all these things, but I haven't fought to my potential. And so once I fight to my potential, once I get it all figured out, all the kinks figured out, yeah, my goal is to be a legend in the sport and be a legend from Washington and just like all around from just a fighter in general. So I think me and Chase Hooper are the ones from Washington that are on the way up to make a name for ourselves.
Yeah, Chase Hooper's doing his thing. Hey, is there a rivalry between Eastern Washington and Western Washington?
Nah, no, it's all love. Luckily, me and Chase aren't even in the same division. We're two divisions apart, and we actually are really close. Like my coach also has a promotion, and so he's really close with all the guys in Washington. You know, matching up fights and stuff like that. So our two coaches are really cool with each other.
Nice, nice. Your last fight after that one, you said you gave yourself a B minus, and you're returning off a long layoff. You still got the finish. When you look at that fight and what you prepared for Garrett Armfield, what were some techniques that you worked on that worked against him?
You know, that outside single was money. I feel like that landed whenever I wanted. I had some good stuff with the striking, like some push, like I had like a no load two that was working. I almost hit this guillotine that I had been practicing all camp, but he was good. He slipped out of it. It was right at the first round when we were against the cage after he did the armbar. And so that one was really good. That was tight. And obviously I got rear naked chokes on my resume already. So that was the one that sealed the deal. But I think my pressure really worked on Garrett, and but I was surprised about how good his jiu-jitsu is. I think Garrett is going to be a menace in this division as well. I feel like he's really good all around. Obviously got slick hands, but his scrambles and his grappling is pretty on point too.
Nice. And you got that 50K. I feel like for someone that's young in his career, that's going to impact your life, and especially the next training camps that come along. How have you reinvested that money into your training?
100%. I'm always like the number one thing in my life is always training. I'm always making sure that I'm eating good, training good, all that stuff. So the money always goes there. But luckily, I have such a good system here that I don't have to spend a whole bunch. So I'm able to invest in like my house and do stuff like that. But the first thing that always comes first is training and making sure I'm getting better. So I'm flying, training in Vegas, making sure I got the right food. So I'm taking care of me, my girlfriend, and our family here. So yeah, I was blessed with that. That was a life-changing amount of money for someone my age. It was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, for sure. 25, 50K. Not many dudes are getting that big check like that at one time.
No, it definitely took a lot of pressure out. Cause like you said, I had a layoff, so I wasn't rolling in the dough. So that set up a little cushion, and then I got this fight 4 months later, and I'm just ready to make some big money here in 2024. Set me up for even a bigger year in 2025.
SNC, man, like I was watching your YouTube channel and you put up a video of you with your SNC coach. How has your SNC journey been? Because some fighters, they do SNC and they've been doing it for a long time. Some fighters, they start when they join the UFC, and some fighters, they don't even do SNC at all.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like after I got back from the Ultimate Fighter, when I was getting ready for that fight with Ricky, I literally posted on Facebook. I'm like, is there any like personal trainers in Spokane area? I literally posted that on my Facebook, and then my coach was like, or not my coach, Mike Chiesa. He's like, dude, hit up Dylan. Dylan was a wrestler who's a physical therapist, and then was helped Mike out with his SNC, like worked with the PI a bunch. And so I started working with him after my finale fight with Ricky. I was getting ACL surgery and stuff like that. So I rehabbed, and then I started working with him. So I didn't even start doing actual strength conditioning for MMA until after I was already in the UFC. And I feel like it's changed me and made me such a better fighter. Like you said, I'm loving those 3 rounds. The third round finishes. I think that just shows how conditioned I am. If I'm able to go out there, I finished in Nah with like 30 seconds left. By the end of the fight, people are usually gassing out, and it's just like, okay, you either win in the first 2 or it's a decision. But no, I'm finishing these guys, and I'm finishing them viciously in the third round.
Yeah, for sure. You had some nose issues for a long time. Did you get that fixed?
I did. I had a nice nose job after this last fight.
Okay.
I grew up with a deviated septum. I might have broken when I was a kid. I don't fucking know. But I used to get bloody noses every goddamn day. It was the worst thing ever. I don't know why. I got it cauterized. I did all these things. Couldn't fix it. And so they're like, we should do surgery and go in and solder all the blood vessels off. And so I did. And I haven't had a bloody nose since. So we're fixed up. Worst surgery ever. I hated it. The recovery was terrible. But it's all good now. My nose is a little bit straighter. No bloody noses. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and your cardio was always good. Like I could only imagine like what it's gonna be now entering the next fights.
It's nice to be able to breathe out of my nose, that's for sure. Before it was just like this one was completely closed, and I think this one was like at 40% or something like that. So now I'll be able to breathe. Now you get to see some real cardio out of me.
All right. What's that white board in the back? Like, what's that for?
Oh, that's actually my girl's planner. So she has a desk over here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's like her planner and stuff. And she was doing this one thing called 75 Hard.
Oh, okay.
So she's trying to get in shape, and I don't know. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's where like you like do 2 workouts a day, read books, all that good stuff. She asked me if I wanted to join. I'm like, no, I do that every fight camp.
I know. That's your life.
Yeah, that's my life. I don't need to add any more on. We're cooling.
Yeah, for sure. October 19th, man, Las Vegas. After the last fight, you wanted to return much earlier. Was it difficult getting opponents?
I think the UFC, like, until you get up into the rankings, it's like they offer you 3 fights a year, and that's about it. Like I had my first offer, which I had, I tore my knee, so I had to pull out of that. Got my second, and so I was just waiting for my third of the year. But it's funny because I was actually supposed to fight in October. Like we were talking about doing this fight, but Hadley couldn't do it, and so they're like maybe December, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll wait through the holidays, and then they're like, or we could do, or we could do October, and I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. I had like 7.5 weeks notice, and I was like, I'll cut weight a little faster, but I like the matchup. I like this fight. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Thoughts on Hadley and his fighting style?
I think it's good. I mean, he's got some good jits off his back, which I know he's going to be in this fight. He's got some slick boxing. The biggest thing that I really liked about this fight is I've never fought a southpaw. And so I wanted to test myself and see how I do against a southpaw. And the perfect one is Jake Hadley. And so he has a nice clean 2. He's aggressive, but I don't know if he's going to be aggressive against me. I think we saw in that whatever that Irish fuck's name is.
Callan.
I can't remember. Callan. Yeah, dude, that guy's a douchebag. But whatever his name, like whatever, he was running the whole time, and he was like kind of like outpointing him, which who knows? I think that's what he's going to try to do to me. But I think my style is just fucking car crashes over and over again. So we'll see what happens. If he wants to walk forward, I guess we're running into each other, and we're just going to see who falls first.
Do you think in that fight, right, the one that Hadley had just recently, that was his, I think, first fight at bantamweight. Do you feel like it was more of a Callan like playing into Hadley's game and just allowing him to do what he does best and striking with him instead of trying to like mix it up?
Yeah, I don't really know. That was a weird fight for Callan. I think he literally just walked him down and had a good technical boxing. His chin was tucked, his hands were up, but he didn't really do a whole lot. The volume in that fight was super low, and his takedowns were terrible. Like he had 2 or 3 great doubles, and then he would just switch it to a single. It was just. I don't think he was either. He's just not good, or he just didn't show up for that fight, and I think he just got outpointed. But obviously Jake did what he needed to do on short notice. So hats off to him. He looked good in that fight. He did what he needed to do to win.
Man, he did. He definitely did. He's been fighting at flyweight, and now he's up at bantamweight. When you get success, you want to go where the success is. But what's the key differences, do you think, of a guy like you that's fighting at bantamweight, probably never going to go down to flyweight, probably don't want to cut that extra pounds, compared to a guy that goes to flyweight and actually fights at bantamweight too?
Yeah, dude, I'm a big bantamweight. You know, I don't. My body couldn't even handle going to 25. I might die, honestly. And so I think that's the big difference. Is I'm just going to be a little bit bigger. And for being a 35er, I'm big, but I'm also strong for being 35. And I think he's going to feel that in the cage. I don't think there's many people that are as strong as me, especially when we start grappling at 35. So I think it's going to be a big eye opener. And I think one with my striking, two is my grappling is going to be, you know, next level compared to his.
And with training camp and even before training camp, I know you go to Vegas a lot. You also go to, like, I believe Western Washington, or yeah, Western Washington to train a little bit. Did you
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
go?
yeah. So I went to Vegas right when they, like, it's funny, every time I go to Vegas, I swear I get a fight announcement. Last time I met Garrett in the sauna at the PI, got a fight announcement. I was literally in the sauna after a training session at Syndicate, you know, still recovering from no surgery, so I didn't do a whole lot of sparring, but a lot of technical stuff. Got a call from a manager. They're like, "Do you want Hadley?" And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." So I did. I spent like the first week of camp there, first week and a half. Then I came home. My buddy was fighting for a title up in Vancouver, and so we drove through Seattle, got some sparring in over there. Went up, got some sparring on the way back, and then I've been doing a lot of just training here in Spokane. I got a good crew coming up, you know, Caden Shaw, Alvin Welch. Even there's a guy that moved over from Montana. He's the bare knuckle champion, Kai Stewart. And so I feel like we're creating a good little crew in here in Spokane, and I got a few Southpaw boxers. And so I haven't really had the need to go travel like I have in the past, at least for this camp. You know, after this camp, I'm for sure going to go back to Vegas, get some good looks with those guys. But, you know, I'm fighting a Southpaw that likes to play jits, and I got a bunch of those in Spokane. So I'm just hanging out here, having a good time.
Nice, nice. And what's your vision for this fight coming up against Hadley?
You know, I think I'm going to, you know, just from watching his last fights, I think I'm going to put a pressure on him like I always do. And I just feel like I'm going to break him in the second. I feel like the second round is going to be where I start taking over. I'm hoping to get it before the third. You know, I got 2 third-round finishes, 1 first round on the Ultimate Fighter, so let me get a second.
All right. One last thing, man, before I let you go. There's going to be some rule changes starting in November. You know, the 12-6 elbows will be legal now. How do you think that will impact fights?
Dude, honestly, I think the 12-6 elbow is a dumb strike anyways. Like, I've never seen someone maybe when they're on the cage and you can go like this, but like if you're mounted, who have you, other than John Jones, have you seen someone go like this? Like, I just don't think it's a useful strike in that context. So I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. I think the big game changer is going to be the grounded opponent with the knees. I think that's going to change a lot of people's game because, like, people always play it. It's like, oh, they get head snap or they get you on the cage and they'll just put their hand down. It's like, now you can't knee them. But that's taking it away. They're going to have to drop all the way to your knee, which is going to be easier to take you down. So I think that's going to be the biggest rule change that's going to affect the sport.
Yeah, that new definition of a grounded opponent. We saw last weekend in Paris, Imavov. He had like the back, and if you played it, you could have just tripod, put the hand down, and he couldn't. He's really good at kicking you from that position to the head.
Yeah, he's got some interest. Yeah, he's got an interesting strike selection. That's crazy. He's so flexible. He can just flick his leg up there.
Maybe you got to practice that now because this is a new thing that will be allowed in fights, right?
For sure, definitely. The knees against the cage are going to be so much more vicious. Like, I love it. Especially like if someone's on their hands and knees, that's like the perfect time to like knee them in the head. So they're either going to get fucked up or they're going to have to drop to their knee, which is like perfect for taking it back or pulling their legs out from the cage. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited.
Do you think knees should be allowed? Like, let's say you're in side control and your opponent's on their back. Do you think knees should be allowed to the head?
I think so. This is a fist fight, and that's what the whole point of the sport is. So I think limiting people in that context, I think, is kind of weird. Like, how much are you really gonna benefit from taking that away? Like, someone could win a fight in that position, but now that the rules there, is like they could lose that fight just because maybe they're not, they don't have anything else to do, and so then they get stood up. I think giving fighters the opportunity to just go out there and fight is the biggest thing. That being said, I don't know about soccer kicks. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That sounds like CTE going around.
Well, you know, Japan's still doing soccer kicks and stomps, so you get to see that over there. And you know, as a spectator, I enjoy it, but as a fighter, I'm kind of concerned for their health a little bit if they get soccer kicked.
For sure, I wouldn't want to get soccer kicked. Just get punted right in the side of the head. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, but I think that these commissions or whoever runs, you know, is in control of the rules. They should allow the fighters, like professional fighters at the highest level, like let's say Bellator, UFC, PFL, to vote on rules, like because you guys know best.
I completely agree. I think I don't know who runs this or who's making the rules, but it's definitely not people that are super involved in the sport. Like I feel like the biggest example was that 12-6 elbow. Like no one really like it looks vicious, like because in karate, you're breaking boards. You're like so like dude, we can't do that. They're breaking boards. That's what's going through my head. They're like they see a YouTube video of a karate guy going like and they're like no, we can't let people do that. If they're breaking boards, they're cinder blocks. They're gonna break heads. No, but I don't know. I think it's like once you do the martial arts your whole life, I feel like those guys earn the right to make the rules.
For sure. You know, they said, you know what I mean? Like those boards, they're already broken before they break them.
For sure. Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
All right, man. October 19th, UFC Fight Night. Your last fight in the Apex, hopefully. Brady, thank you so much, man, for the time. And yeah, man, I'm excited for this matchup. It's a good one. It's a challenge.
Yeah, I think it's a good step up. You know, the guy's experienced. He's come from the UK, which they got a good MMA scene over there. So I'm excited for this one too. Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Always.